welcome to my AR English channel with me Nuryadina Augustrini. I will give you the using of modals for obligation, prohibition, and advice. Is it still new for you, the using of modals for obligation, prohibition, and advice? As we know that there are many modals that we always use in our conversation, such as might, may, should, would, could, and many more. There are many types of models that they always use. Just watch the next sessions that there are gonna be an explanations about the using of modals for prohibition, obligation, and advice. Here I will give you the samples of modals, regulations or self-rules, obligations, prohibition, and advice. As I say at the beginning, there are some modals that we can use in our conversation, such as can, must, may, be able to, has or have to, would, could, should, ought to, might, and many more. But for obligations and prohibition, we just use 3 of the modals in our conversations. They are must or mustn't, has or have to, make into the negative, don't or doesn't have to, should, shouldn't, and in prohibition, additional is can't. Do you know the differences between obligation and prohibition? Alright. Obligation means used to oblige to do something. And the modals used are must, has or have to, depend on the subject, and should. These modals followed by verb 1. Prohibition means an order forbidding something or not allowed or forbidden. The modals used are mustn't, can't, don't or doesn't have to, shouldn't, and they are also followed by verb 1. The similarities of using must or has or have to are used to express obligations or necessity. For must and have to also has a similarity in a form to express some rules or laws. These are the examples of the similarities of must or have to used in the sentences. Number 1. We must or we have to wear uniform to school. This is a rule and has a strong recommendations in meaning for speaker. The second examples, they must or they have to submit a task report before the deadline over. This is also a rule or a law for everybody and has a strong recommendation need to do or follow. There is a similarity and differences of using must and have to. Let's see the examples here. Number 1. You must come. It means that you oblige someone to come. The other meaning, it is a request from speaker want you to come. Number 2. You have to come. It means that I, as a speaker, oblige you to come. In another meaning, its rules or law require you to come. The conclusion is, must expresses speaker's feeling. Have to expresses impersonal idea. Other examples of using must and have to are, number 1, students of Poltek Sahid must groom neatly and clean. It means that the speakers oblige students to be neat and clean. Second example, girl of Polytechnic Sahid has to use high heels. It means it's a rules from institutions using high heels for girls in campus. The next example, I must give a gift for you. I must study for my exam. These two examples use for specific obligation as the second rules from using must in obligation. The next, I have to wear apron to cook. I have to wear complete uniform in campus. These examples are also used for general obligations when you use have to. If you want to express obligation, duty, or necessity in the future or the past time, must and need are not used. They are replaced by have to. So, in a present time, you can use must and have to in your speaking. But in the past time or in the future time, you just use only one for obligation, and that is have to. Go on to the next obligation using should. Should means asking someone expected to do. You can give an advice someone by using should. See the examples here. Students of Poltech Sahit should come on time in every class meeting. Students of Poltech Sahit should behave well to everyone. These two examples describes an advice from someone to the students of Poltech Sahit. So, this is also a rules, but only giving advice or suggestions. Now, the using of modals for prohibition means necessary not to do. There are 4 modals that we can use for prohibition. They are mustn't, doesn't or don't have to, can't, and shouldn't. Between mustn't, doesn't or don't have to, and can't, they are almost similar in meaning. But of course, they are not the same. Example number 1. In the class, students mustn't smoke, but outside of the class, you don't have to smoke. The sentence of using mustn't, it is a rules that you have to obey. The second sentence of have to, this is also a rules, but you still have a choice if you want to do it. The second, students can't use snackers in the kitchen, but in the class, they don't have to use snackers. The first sentence stated that students can't use snackers in the kitchen. It is against the rules, so you have to follow and you have to obey it. The next sentence, they don't have to use snackers. Don't have to means you still have a choice to follow or you don't have to follow. The using of can't in the first sentence, students of Poltech Sahit can be absent less than 75% in the class meeting. Can't here is a rules for prohibition. So you have to follow it. You have to obey it and don't try to against it. The second, students of Poltech Sahit can consume or take addictive drugs in campus. It means that almost the same with the first sentence. You must obey it. You must follow these rules. The next examples of using doesn't or don't have to. Number 1, students of Poltech Sahit doesn't have to get D in KHS. KHS is in Indonesia. This is like the final scoring test. Students of Poltech Sahit don't have to come late in mid-test and final test season. The using of doesn't have to and don't have to, it means that The obligation inside of the sentence is very clear, but it's not strong to do it. You still have a choice to follow or to leave it. The next prohibitions, the using of shouldn't. Shouldn't is giving advice to someone expected not to do. The first example, students of Poltek Sahit shouldn't be absent for 3 times in class. It's just only advice. You can follow it or you may leave it. The second example, students of Poltek Sahit shouldn't prioritize organization than study. This sentence also the content is only choice for the listener. The speaker just gave an advice. So, you know which one is good for you and which one is bad for you. So, how is your conclusion of using modals for obligation, prohibition, and advice? I hope you can understand the explanation I give here, the differences of modals using for obligation, prohibition, and advice. Here I give an exercises using modals for laws at home, laws at hotel or restaurant, laws at airlines or tourism object. Try to make an obligation, prohibition, and also advice. Thank you for watching AR English Learning channel. See you in the next sessions of another topic. Bye-bye.